The VLOOKUP formula is probably one of your most simplest formulas that you can perform in Excel, and is one of the first formulas that I learned how to use when I started my first job in finance nearly 20 years ago now. And it's a formula that I actually still use today. Yes, maybe not as often as I used it kind of when I started Excel, but it's still merits to kind of use it today. So let's take an example as to why you would still use a VLOOKUP formula today. So first example is, say you've got a set of two tables, and you kind of just want to see, first of all, I've got a table 1 here, I've got a list of down names, and I want to see basically what is the postcode for this down name by finding it in this second table and returning the postcode. So let's have a look at how that would work. Now, before we jump into the formula, how it works is something I would really strongly to or recommend strongly that you do when you first start your Excel journey, and this is to kind of really understand kind of the language of the formula. So what I mean by that is, if you start typing in the formula, say equals VLOOKUP, you will see that the formula is made up of these kind of different components here, which are called function arguments, and it's really trying to understand what are these function arguments and what do they mean. That's what I mean by the Excel language. To kind of see what all of these different function arguments mean is, you can click on this insert function button here, and this will pop up with a window that kind of explains or show you the different components of the formula. And then if you click on each of the blank fields, you'll see it will give you a very brief description as to what the function argument means. So let's close that for a second, because I've got them all written here down on the side. And the first example we're going to use is, we're going to say I've got this list of down names here, and I want to bring back or find a matching down in this table here, and I want to bring back the postcode. So again, very simple. You can type in VLOOKUP and then open bracket, and then the first function argument is saying what is the lookup value. So that's the first one here. So what is the lookup value? So the lookup value is the value that you find in the first column of the table. So this is going to be the value in the first column of our table here, and this can be a value, a reference, or a text string. So again, let's choose that. We want to find Alan Rich, and to move on to the next function argument, we're going to do comma, and the second one is called table array. So as you kind of go along, you'll see that Excel puts in bold, or if you hover over it, it kind of looks like it creates like a hyperlink. So that will tell you basically on what function argument you are currently on. So we are on the second one here, which is table array, and table array in this instance is called a table of text, numbers, or logical values in which data is retrieved. Now, table array can be a reference to a range or a range name. So in this instance, we are going to select a range. So this table here, this is our range, and then we're going to move on to the next function argument by typing comma, and then the next function argument is called column index number. So these are just abbreviated, but that's what it means, column index number. So what does that mean? So in the column number in a table array, so again, this table array is our range, from which a matching value should be returned. Okay, so we're saying, what matching value do you want to be returned from your table array? And in this instance, we want it to return the value or the postcode that's in this second column here. And the way the Excel counts kind of columns in a table array is like, the first column will always be column 1, the next one will be 2, and then 3, and so forth. So in this instance, we want to have the second column, or the value in the second column, to be returned. So we're going to do 2, and then we're going to do comma to move on to the next function argument. And here we've got two options. We've got true to find an approximate match, or false if we want to find an exact match. So in this instance, we want to find the exact match. We don't want to find something that is similar to that. We want to find the exact match. So what are we going to choose here? We are going to choose false. Now you can write out false, or another way is to use a value to represent false. So in this instance, if you type in 0, that's going to mean the same thing as false. Now I personally prefer to use numbers where I can, because it then just shortens your formula, and then you can kind of read it a bit easier. So let's use 0 to represent false, and then close the bracket. So yeah, now you can see it's looked at Alan Rich, it's found it in this table array here, and it's returned the postcode, which is 9490. So then to just drag the formula down or copy the formula down, you can double click on the corner here, and it will drag the formula down to the last entry you've got. Second example to use it is, say I've got the table here, and I want to see which of these town names are missing from this table here. So again, Vlookup is quite easy and simple to use for that. So let's start it off with say equals Vlookup, open bracket, and then our lookup value is going to be the value or text or reference in the first column. So in this instance, that's going to be our first column here. And then comma to move on to the next function argument, the table array. So again, table array is a reference to a range or a range name. So again, we want to find if this town name appears in this list here. So we're going to select this as our table array. Now, because I'm just interested to see if the town appears or not, I'm not interested in the postcode. I only need to select basically this first column here as my table array. And then we're going to do comma to move on to the next function argument. And again, we're going to say, yes, when you find Alan Ridge, what value or what value and what column do you want to return? So again, I've just got really one column selected here as our table array. So I'm just going to return the value in the first column. So I'm going to do 1. And then comma to move on to the next function argument. And again, I don't want to find an approximate match. I want to find the exact match. So I'm going to choose false or type in 0. And then close bracket. So yeah, as expected, Alan Rich is appearing in both tables. If we copy this formula down, it should say that it can't find Belleville. So let's test this. So if we double click on here, yeah, as expected, it's saying it can't find Belleville in this table, or this list of towns here. So another example that you can use Excel very quickly for, and this is probably kind of one of the examples that most people probably never used Vlookup for. I certainly didn't use it for a very long time when I started Excel. I think purely because I didn't understand you know, what this option meant, what you used it for. And this is the instance where you would use true as your range lookup. So let's look at an example where you would use true as your range lookup. So let's go to the next tab here. So in this example, I've got just this one table here, and I've got the town names down here, and the kind of postal code range for the town. So for instance, we've got Virginia here. The start range is going to be for this, the postcode start range is 9430, and it's going to end in 9444. Okay, so in here, the example I'm going to use is, I'm going to type in, for instance, a postcode that falls between that range, and the idea is then it will tell me that that postcode for or it falls between the range for Virginia, so it needs to return the value Virginia. So let's just type in a postcode range here quickly. So we're going to say 9435 for instance. Okay, so I want to then see this 9435 it falls in between the range of which one of these. Okay, so it should return Virginia if we do this correctly. So let's start the formula. So we say equals Vlookup, and the lookup value is going to be again it's going to be the text or value. In this instance it's a value in our first column here, and then if we do comma to move on to the next function argument, we're going to go ahead and select our table array. So this is going to be our table array, and then we're going to do comma to move on to the next function argument. So again, this is saying column index number. So once it finds the value we are kind of looking at, what is the kind of, or from what kind of column do you want to return the value that it finds? So again, we want it to return the town name. So this is in column 3. So again, we can start counting from the first column in our table array. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3. So let's type 3, and then we're going to do comma to move on to the next function argument. So now this is the important bit for this example. So here we don't want to find the exact match, we just want to find the approximate match. So approximate match in between, so it'll be a value in between this range. So in this instance we're going to choose true, and again you can write out the word true, or you can use the value 1 to represent true. So again, like I said, I prefer to use numbers. So I'm going to do 1 and then close the bracket. So yeah, there you can see it's worked. So it's saying that this postcode of 9435 falls within the postcode range of Virginia. Okay, let's test another one. So let's say if I want to find, or if I've got a postcode that's in between this range of Allen Ridge, which is 9490 to 9498. Okay, let's say 9495. So that should then change the town name to Allen Ridge. Yep, and that's now showing it's Allen Ridge. These are probably 3 very simple examples why, or kind of when I would use a Vlookup. Now I agree there are kind of better formulas than a Vlookup, like your XLOOKUP or your index match formulas that you can use. And yes, if I've got a spreadsheet I'm updating monthly or weekly, I probably won't be using a Vlookup formula. And the other option I would not use a Vlookup for is if I haven't got a constant set of tables. I also probably won't be using a Vlookup. So if I've got, say for instance, this table here, and say I update it next week and there's an extra column added to the table, then it's gonna not kind of work kind of correctly, because you'll basically your column index number will change, and then you have to change that in the formula. So in those instances I won't use a Vlookup, but certainly for something that's just kind of quick and simple, I'm just going to use it once, and I'll use a Vlookup for that. So yeah, that's kind of one of the first videos that I'm recording. The idea is that I'll be kind of recording kind of a number of videos that kind of takes you through my Excel journey through my working career. I'm going to be using real life work examples that's kind of start up with really simple formulas, and then we'll ramp it up to a bit more kind of advanced formulas, and then also where you kind of using a combination of formulas. Then I'll also kind of do things like basically things that you probably won't ever know that you can do in Excel, like for instance designing a logo like this, or basically simple macros that you can do. So for instance, I've got a macro that says, let's see, give this video a thumbs up. So this little thumbs up here, that's just done with a very quick and easy macro. Another one is if you say subscribe to this channel to see kind of a lot more cool videos that's going to be posted on this channel. So kind of really simple things like that, really. It looks like it can be quite complicated, but it's actually quite simple to do. So yeah, if you found this quite useful and you want to kind of see kind of more advanced kind of Excel formulas, or basically more than Excel formulas that you can perform in Excel, give the video a thumbs up, and then also kind of subscribe so you don't kind of miss kind of any of the cool videos that's coming up. So yeah, that's it for this VLOOKUP formula. I'll see you on the next video.